Hello, welcome back to 3D Creations. Now in this tutorial we're going to keep with the medieval theme of last tutorial, however this time we're going to be making a castle. Now the point of this tutorial is we're going to be making piece by piece the different elements of a castle. That way you can copy and rearrange them in any way you want to make any kind of castle you feel like. Okay, so we're going to start off with the basics of just making a wall. Now wall can be as complex or as simple as you want. That could be your wall. It's not very dynamic, but it works. Now I'm going to take two boxes, do my best to match them up here. We're going to go 25. 25. Perfect. Now I'm going to grab a wedge. Flip it around. We'll use the mirror tool. Why not? Oops. I had two things selected. Don't do that. We're going to use the mirror tool. Flip that around. And I'm going to match this up to the top of that outside square. There we go, that's about right. I'm going to drop these guys way down. Squeeze them in a little. Out. There we go. Just adding a little bit of depth to our wall. Now I'm going to grab a third box for the top of our walls because archers and whatever need a place to stand up there. I'm going to do the tiniest little overhang on the back. Now then, to make the top of the wall, it's going to be a series of boxes. You could do one continuous box and then cut it up with holes, like this, but I have a feeling that's going to cause the program to take a lot longer than we might think, or that we might want. Okay, so this is a good pattern to set up. However, if you remember from the fence tutorial in the barn, we're going to have to make some adjustments in order for this to be repeated. So I'm going to stretch that out to 30. So these each should be 5 by 5, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then we want to add another 5 in order to get the repeating pattern. Because if we copy and paste and match it up, then we get the flawless transition. Alright. And that's going to be the basic wall for us. So let's... Alright, I'm going to select all of this and make it a group. Now I'm going to scale it down and push it over to the side. Actually, we're going to push it back. Alright. Now, to connect these connect these walls, we need some towers. Now, towers come in two main variants, a cylinder and a box. So, to match the aesthetic we're going for, I'm actually going to go back over here. I'm going to copy over that lower section, the part with the wedge, and let's put this neatly on the grid, and it is 20 by 20, so we want to scale this up. Now it does not have to match perfectly to the walls. It does not have to be 30 by 30 or whatever. We're just going for the same sort of feel. Rotate by 90. both of those over, rotate around 180, and then when we match up, should be a perfect fit. I'm then going to make the tower taller, and selecting the bottom parts once again. Oops. Paste. I'm going to move it up, mirror tool, and flip it upside down. Really probably should have grouped this. Alright. Always keep in mind to have your camera in an advantageous position. I'm going to scoot it up just a little bit. I don't know why, to be honest. There we go. That's going to be the base of our tower. Now I'm going to take a box, as most things are, matching it up and squishing it down, and then pulling it out. Remember, you can hold Alt on your keyboard to have it be uniform from the center. Now I am going to select all of the bottom. I'm going to make it a group, and I'm going to reselect multicolored. Make this that darker, and now I'm going to select everything and use that align tool. Make sure that that top box is directly in the center. For a cylindrical tower, this process is fairly similar. Instead of the wedge shape, we're going to use these cones, which we can amp up to be. We're going to use the align tool, match up with our cylinder perfectly, and then we can use these settings to match up the wedge. There we go. I'm also going to up our side count. Actually, let's keep it the same because we're going to be scaling this down. Now we can move this up ever so slightly. I'm going to push this down. Grab a second cylinder. Use that align tool to make sure we're matched up. Make sure we're aligning everything. Either select everything or make it a group. So because I set the base radius to 15, radius is half of the circle. So because we're measuring the diameter, which is the entire thing down here, we need each side to be 30 because it's double of 15. That way when we select the entire tower and align it, it should match up absolutely perfect. There we go. Now I'm not sure it needs to be that tall, so I'm going to scoot both of these down a little. Alright, now I'm going to select both of these bottom parts, copy and paste, rotate 180 degrees, align with everything, and we get this sort of dumbbell looking shape. That's okay because this top I'm going to squish down and expand out. I'm going to go to 40 by 40 and realign everything. Mm, 40 seems a bit extreme, to be honest. So why don't we make it 35 by 35. In order to get the proper battlements on the top, because we're dealing with a circular surface now, we can't just make cubes over and over because they wouldn't match up to the edge. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this tube and make it 35 by 35. We're going to align everything. Move it up to the top. If you can, we're going to try to, number of sides, we should try to match. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a gear. So we go all the way out to all the shape generation and head to page 3. We can find a gear. Now why I want this gear is because what we can do with it is we can stick it right in the middle here. You know what? We're going to select both of these and align it to the center. There we go. You can select what you're aligning to by after you click the Align tool, select the object that you do not want to move. Alright. Now then, I'm going to expand this outer radius to push those gears out past the outside of our tower. And number of teeth, in fact, we can look at sides 20, so we want 10 teeth. Now it's not quite lined up, so we might have to tinker with this a little bit. There we go. Make sure it's tall enough. And by scaling the whole thing up, we can get to almost the point where it takes up an entire face. Right about there. That's about fine. Now I'm going to drop the inner radius to make sure we're not cutting off anything we don't want to. The outer radius can also drop. There we go. Drop the height a little bit. Now we can make it a hole. And if we group it with that top, the gear will cut out all of our pieces. We can shorten these up, and that will give us a wonderful top to our tower. And now we have 2 different towers to pick from. That's going to get us most of the way there. Let's go back to basic shapes, and we're going to start working on a doorway. I'm going to grab a box make it a little taller, maybe 30 by the 20 that it starts off with. And then I'm going to grab a round roof because it has the same dimensions as our starting cube, push it up to the top, and that will give us our doorway shape. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky because what I want to do is I'm going to take both of these, copy and paste, match them up, scale down a little bit, push it out, make it a hole. You want to make it uniform, so squish in on the sides a little bit, and this will give us a nice frame. Now I'm going to group both of these, make it a darker color. I'm going to copy and paste this one more time, and I'm going to stick it right in the middle, down just one. So we have these three pieces going on inside. I'm going to make this one a dark brown. That will be our actual door. Now if we select everything, align it, we don't want to group everything. We want to group the outside and these holes. That will give us an archway with a door. I'm going to pull the door forward just a little bit. And then group the whole thing. Make sure to bring back the colors. So we have a door. We can also repurpose this for windows. So if I copy and paste so that we can have a new starting one, what I can do is I can edit this group. I can go in, ungroup it, edit this group, and all I have to do is make this a little shorter and push it up so that we have this bottom face. Then when we copy everything, we group. Honestly, having that gap is fine, but we do want to get rid of, or not get rid of, but we will want to review that. So I'm going to select all of this, group it, and then reposition that to be like an off-white yellowish. That will give us a nice looking window. Oops. Don't forget to group everything when you're done. So we have a door, we have windows, we have walls, we have towers. I think we're about ready to get started. So, why don't you use these pieces and come up with your own castle. And from here, I'm going to do a time lapse of the castle I make, but feel free to experiment with yours. Throw windows, maybe add torches, lots of towers, little towers, big wall going around a keep in the center, or just a keep with some towers around it. Whatever works. Okay, welcome back from the time lapse, and as you can see, I've built a fairly sizable castle with a keep. I made the keep modifying the square towers. Got a little gatehouse, got a big wall around the whole thing. So feel free to come up with your own castle designs and see how much detail you can get into them. Mess around, maybe add torches or more arrow slits along the walls, or maybe a flag or two hanging out on the keep and the towers. Um, Whatever you can come up with, but with these simple pieces put together, you can copy and paste your way into something great. So, thank you for joining us this week. Hope you have fun.